Three, two, one. Hey friends, Janky here, and welcome back to the lab. Today we are looking at a sweet game known as Breakaway, developed by Amazon Game Studios, and also published by Amazon. It is a sweet MOBA-esque style game. It's got like some elements of MOBA and some elements of like Rocket League. It's really cool. I really enjoyed it. I was part of the alpha test back in December, and I had a lot of fun playing it. They just had an alpha weekend this past weekend, so I got to play it again. They made a lot of changes to it, and I just really wanted to show it off to you because I couldn't remember, but I didn't think I did a video on it back in December, which is a shame. So I recorded some footage, and I want to show it off to you. But before we get to that, just let me cover experimental biases here really quick. And for experimental biases, I just want to say this isn't really a review. So I already really like this game. I had a lot of fun with the alpha in December. This alpha, I don't think it went quite as well for me personally. I just had some issues with the game, like bugging out a little. I think I had some trouble with that back in December too, but I just kind of ignored it. And it wasn't too bad, but there were just some technical issues. But I really do like this game, so basically everything I'm going to say about it is positive. So it's really going to be more of a showcase than an actual review of the game. I just wanted to be clear on that before we get into it. But I'm going to fade away, and I hope you guys enjoy what I have to show you of Breakaway. Okay, so let's start talking about Breakaway. Now there is a lot to cover in this game, so hopefully I'll be able to remember everything and get through it all, but I just really wanted to show it to you guys. And yes, I appreciate how strange it is that I'm making a YouTube video about a game that is basically made for Twitch by Amazon, but it's super awesome. Anyway, like I was saying, Breakaway is sort of a MOBA style game. If you ever played Gigantic by Mortiga Studios, I think it's very similar to that. What I'm showing you guys here is just the character lineup. So some of the characters kind of got switched around. In the original alpha, the story to the game was basically like these characters from history and mythology kind of got pulled together to do this battle game for the gods or whatever. They've kind of seemed to abandon that storyline. I think it was because a lot of people, apparently from the alpha notes, they were saying that the characters weren't as well defined as they could be. They didn't feel as detailed as they could be. So a lot of them, it seems they kind of changed out what they were to just sort of become maybe a more generic character in general, but like not someone specifically from history or mythology, but like a character that belongs in this game. So for example, Corin here, which is a ranged support character, she was originally Morgan Le Fay from Arthurian myth. And Argus here was originally Spartacus from Roman history / mythology, a little bit of both. Anyway, they still kind of have the same general characteristics as the original characters. They just kind of created these new characters to sort of update the designs. So as you can see, Argus here is more of a like a supernatural clay being person. And of course, these all have backstories that come with them too. Also, I think it just let them be a little freer with the character designs. There's also one, she's like from the ocean now. She used to be Annie Bonny, like the pirate, but I didn't play a lot as her. Anyway, these characters play... Oh, Thorgrim. Thorgrim's my favorite. I absolutely love him. So these characters play a lot like any heroes would in a MOBA. You have two basic attacks, essentially. You have a right click and a left click on your mouse. Now, the right clicks, they have a cooldown on them. The left clicks are just like your basic attack. And it doesn't happen automatically. You actually have to click the button. There is an auto setting, I think. Yes, this is the one that used to be Annie Bonny. There is an auto setting, I think, but I didn't really check that out to see how that worked. I kind of like left everything up to me. Then each of them have 3 powers that are available to them. So Alona here, she's a healer. So her powers are all about healing. You'll see some more of that later. I play a little bit of Argus and a little bit of Thorgrim, so maybe I can talk about those more a little bit later. And then each character has what's called a buildable, which is something that you can create on the battlefield to sort of help you out. Originally, they each had 2 buildables apiece, but the developers apparently found that that kind of like clogged up the gameplay space. So they basically made it so that each character only had 1 buildable that was more in line with what they are. You also had these things called relics. That gets explained a little bit later as we get into a game here. So the rest of this video is all about showing you guys some gameplay. So I start off with Argus here. Unfortunately, this version of the alpha didn't have a tutorial, which would be a much easier way to try to explain the gameplay to you guys. I don't know if this alpha was only available to people who played the December alpha, which may have been the case, and that's maybe why this one didn't have a tutorial with it. Obviously, it's pretty like fast-paced in terms of combat. Also, I know that the sound might cut out occasionally. That was just some glitchy problems that I was having with the game here. And the other thing I just want to mention real quick is that all the matches that I play in this video are against the bots, because I didn't have an easy time finding other people to play against. I think it was just like the time of day I was getting on. There weren't a lot of people on the alpha at those times. But anyway, let's get actually started talking about what's going on, shall we? So the base premise of the game is this. It's essentially like basketball. You have this ball, which is called the relic, and you have to get the relic into the opponent's goal. Now, there are other ways to win the game. You can kill all of your enemy opponents, and that will also win you the game. And when that timer up at the top of the screen counts down, if that gets to 0, then it depends on whose side of the court the relic is on. So with about 30 seconds left, you'll see this kind of lit up line that get drawn across the court. You have your side and you have their side, and the goal is basically to keep the relic on their side. Now, like I said, you have abilities. The abilities actually change whenever you're holding the relic. So obviously, whenever you're holding it, you can't use your normal attack defend abilities. You just have to rely on your teammates to defend you and or get them to get the enemies off you. or pass them. But basically, whenever you have it, you have options. You can dash with it, you can pass it to another person, or you can just kind of like toss it if you're really close to the goal. So I think I tossed it like immediately there because I wasn't expecting to get it that fast. Anyway, it's a lot of like team play, which is again a reason why this video kind of makes it hard to see that, because I'm playing with bots and bots aren't great at team play. Anyway, the other thing in the character screen that I was showing you guys was relics. So there are certain badges that you can equip to your character. You can only have 1 per game, but it basically gives you some extra power when you have the relic. So you can run faster, or maybe your damage does more against people who are holding the relic, stuff like that. The buildable I can't really show you because I actually used it at the beginning of this session. So I'll try to show it off to you in one of the later clips. But one of the things you might notice are those pieces that fall away from your enemies when you die. So a lot like in League of Legends, you collect gold off of kills. You can also get gold from a few different things in the game. And the gold you can use to buy power-ups, which I think I have another screen that might come up that shows it, but you saw it in an earlier clip. Basically, you can buy extra attack power, or you can buy armor, or you can buy different things that can basically help you out in the field, and sort of you choose how you want to level up your character. You can only choose 4 items, and then from there you just kind of like level up the rest, or you just keep leveling up those 4 items you chose. That wall that you see there, that is Thorgrim's buildable. So at the beginning of this session you saw I laid down that wall. That was the first thing I did. His is more of a defensive one. The one for Argus was a siege engine. It's sort of like a rolling canister with spikes. The formerly Annie Bonny's character, whose name I don't remember right now, she sets up sort of turrets. Corin, who is formerly Morgan Le Fay, the ranged attack mage, she lays down a ward that acts like a debuff to enemies. There's another character named Victor. He's sort of like an evil Tesla, and he sets down these like giant electric pulse towers that will shoot at you if you pass by. So the buildables can act as defenses or they can be used offensively. Basically, they're just like an extra way to kind of keep the enemy busy. Another feature that I want to show you guys, I think it comes a little later in the video, is just some interesting movement things about this game. Actually, I'm going to wait because I know that there's a clip later that kind of shows that off more. And I'm going to tell you about what the announcer just said, which was the buffs. So you'll notice that on either side of this particular battlefield, you have the two raised pyramids. Now, obviously they were both taken already, but normally there are crystals up on the sides, and they are buffs. So on one side is the health buff, which is a blue crystal, and on the other side is a damage buff, which is a red crystal. If your team is doing real good and you're feeling yourself, or you think your team could use an extra boost and you think they can spare you for enough time it takes, you can go up onto the pyramids and you can break the crystals to grant your team either the health buff or the damage buff. If you get both crystals, awesome. Usually it seems to work out like you get one crystal apiece for each team. So one team gets the health, one team gets the damage. But basically they're crystals that you just have to break, and you just have to keep breaking them until, you know, their health is completely zero. And then you get whatever buff you get. So I just scored, which was a really awesome feeling for me. I'm going to be honest, the alpha actually crashed immediately after that because I don't think it could handle how awesome I was with the scoring. But let's talk about some powers, shall we? So one of Thorgrim's powers that I just showed off there, the sort of circle of ice, was his R move. So basically that's just sort of a get off me move. He also has the armor, which is also a get off me move. Like I said, that's the right click. You'll notice that has a cooldown on it. And then he also has a hammer swing and some other moves. He's a tank, so his big thing is just trying to keep people off of you. You'll notice on the times that I do get the relic in my hands, you'll see that the commands change at the bottom, which just basically explains what you can do with the relic when you have the relic. And again, this is all about teamwork. You have to be really cooperative with the people you're playing with to do well in this game, because you have to have a game plan going into it. It's just like basketball. It's all about passing and, you know, getting the ball where it needs to go and keeping it away from the other team. And you always have to be careful of those things. Now this is me trying to get the damage buff for our team while also dealing with these other dudes. I end up like taking one out, I think. And I do get the debuff for our team, or the buff for our team, the defense buff for our team, which is cool. And you'll notice one thing too is that the buildables carry over between rounds. So I actually have 2 walls. I ended up with 3 walls set up on our side there. So as long as the enemy team doesn't destroy it, it stays. And so that's one thing to keep in mind for you, to always try to keep your buildables in place, but also make sure that whenever you can, you take down the enemy buildables so that those aren't building up on you. Oh, that Thorgrim. He was so good. I gotta say, like, my bots didn't feel like they were doing anything, and their bots felt awesome. And I was just like, oh, I just want to play with actual people, but it's fine. Anyway, I'm trying to think of other things that I really want to say about this game. The one thing that I wanted to say, there was a clip of it in here somewhere. I don't know if I just missed it or what, but I'm going to talk a little bit about movement. So, one other thing whenever you pick up the relic is your movement slows down. So you do move slower whenever you're holding it, which means that the enemy team can catch up with you, which is why a passing game is so important. And it's also important for your teammates to keep the others off of you whenever you have that relic. But one cool feature is that this game has a slide. So this isn't super effective whenever you're moving across flat surfaces, but whenever you're up on the pyramids or you're going downstairs on ramps, you can actually slide down and gain a temporary speed boost. And those speed boosts are awesome. They are absolutely killer if you can get them, especially if you have the relic, because it can kind of get you ahead of the crowd, which is exactly the kind of thing that you need whenever you have that relic. And also, it can really help you catch up to enemy teams with the relic. I remember there were a couple times right after I got a buff for our team, the relic was being passed off at the bottom of the pyramid. I just slid on into place and whacked him out the way. So it's really useful to have around. So if you can master that slide, that's an awesome thing to have. So this is kind of showing off the end of the match. You can see that sort of golden glow splitting right down the middle of the field. So you can see where our team is versus where their team is. And you can see whose territory is whose. So right here at the end, where we managed to get it on our side. I think this is how we actually won this entire game, was just getting it over on their side. And here's the screen where you can buy things. So like I said, you pick up gold and then you upgrade certain abilities. I went for attack and defense and health and speed. So you just keep leveling up those abilities as far as you want. You can also sell them off to get more gold and buy different things, but I'm not really that into the metagame, so I'm not really a MOBA player, as you may have been able to tell up to this point. So I wasn't the best at that. But other things that I want to just add in here at the end, I really do have fun with this game. There were a couple things that I missed from the original build. I understand why they changed them up. Originally, like I said, each player had 2 buildables, and one of them was like this awesome speed boost that just like launched you. Also, I have to say that a tutorial would be really helpful because then you could actually like see everything really clearly. Again, I don't know if this alpha was only for people who played it back in December, and maybe that's why there wasn't a build like a tutorial in this one, but that's fine. Anyway, I do just really enjoy this game, and it's definitely something you want to play with your friends. And I don't show them here, obviously, because I'm recording this for a YouTube video, but this game also has a lot of Twitch features, because this game is all about Twitch and connecting with people on Twitch and playing this game on Twitch, obviously because it's made by Amazon Game Studios. Okay, so I think that's everything that I wanted to say. Let me wrap it up here by bringing out Janky's experimental scale, shall we? Now, like I said to you guys at the beginning of this thing, this isn't really a review because I'm already kind of sold on this game in a very unfair way. Oh, there was a slide. And I just don't feel like it's correct to say this is a real review of this game, especially because it's also an alpha build, and I've played it before, and just a whole bunch of reasons I don't think that would be a good idea. But as you guys remember, there are 5 possible rankings on the scale: smashing success, promising results, more trials needed, revisions required, and acid kid. This game has a really cool premise. I think that the devs have been working really hard on it, and whenever it's finally ready to go into beta testing, I think that they'll have a really solid finished game on their hands. I would absolutely love to play this with like Afro and some of my Twitch friends. I think we'd have a blast doing it. So I am going to give this game a promising results. I hope you guys agree based on what you've seen here, but if you don't, that's perfectly okay. Of course, feel free to just leave it in the comments if you feel otherwise. But other than that, I'm going to consider this experiment concluded. So, I hope you guys enjoyed today's Janky's Lab. If you did, you can leave those likes down below. Comments, positive or negative. As I said, feel free to leave those below as well. More than anything, I hope you have a lovely day, evening, or whatever you happen to be watching. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, this is Janky Shenanigans, signing out.